It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. When you see in the Sharp Interactive board, I have three gentlemen, and these three gentlemen are the leaders of a dealership in Colorado. And folks, you know, we're going to have a conversation about HP Amplify, and I reached out to Josh Wickstrom, their CEO, and he brought together his team here. We want to talk about this HP Amplify agreement because sometimes when you read what's going on in the marketplace, well, you get a narrative that could be driven strictly by HP. And I believe there's another narrative out there. I believe there's dealers that are just as upset with HP Amplify as I am. I think it's the most threatening OEM contract in existence. And I think dealers really need to pay attention to the agreements they sign and to the implications that those agreements can cause. So without any further ado, let's jump on the Sharp Interactive board. I want to talk with Josh Wickstrom. And Josh, why don't you go ahead and start out by introducing your team, and then let's get into this conversation regarding HP Amplify.
Sure. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to come and visit on your platform today and spread a little bit of awareness about some of the difficulties that we are experiencing. Bless your heart. Hats off to you. We appreciate it. I'm Joshua Wickstrom. I'm the owner of Great Copier Service, Single Point of Technology, and Sharp Business Innovations. Rich Lampshire is the owner of all of those as well. We've been business partners for many years. Also included is Mr. Bill Holland. He's the Vice President of Sales. I asked him to sit in today because he was on the kind of the front end of the HP at Great Copier Service.
Okay.
And I think that his wisdom and knowledge would be very pertinent today.
Well, I appreciate that. And first, I also want to thank you all because there's a lot of dealers in the marketplace that aren't real excited about HP Amplify. And unfortunately, it's hard for dealers to address OEMs. I mean, there was a time when our industry would challenge OEMs, and they didn't mind challenging them publicly. They didn't mind putting these OEM leaders on stages at the meetings and drilling them and asking them tough questions. And today, I believe most of these OEMs control the narrative. And, you know, one of the things that I always wanted to do in my platform was allow us to have conversations that could lead to further, deeper conversations. So I really do appreciate you guys coming. Hopefully more of you all will come. So, you know, there's a couple things, Josh, that stood out to me when we were talking offline. And, you know, you bought a copier dealership there in Colorado, about 65 miles from your corporate office, and that was last year. And that copier dealership was under the Amplify agreement. They were quite successful with that Amplify agreement. We'll let Bill talk about that in a minute. But one of my concerns has always been to the dealers that if you sign these agreements with OEMs, it might appear to be really good in the beginning. But then all of a sudden, somebody wants to come and buy you. So I have to ask Josh and Rich this question. Would you have done more due diligence around the Amplify agreement had you known the issues that you ran into after you bought that company?
Absolutely. No question. No question about it.
Would you have paid less money?
Hopefully, yeah.
And folks, these are big issues. Our industry's in a consolidation. You know, you guys are on the acquiring side. But you're in the same boat. I mean, look, businesses are built to be sold or passed on or whatever. There's a transition process involved. And we have to be careful what we're doing with our business and who our relationships are with and what kind of data we're giving them. I mean, I just think that's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Bill, why don't we start over there with you because you're the one that was with the company that had the HP Amplify agreement. So just tell us really quick, you know, what was that HP Amplify agreement? How did that benefit you at the dealership? What was the big deal or the big, you know, why were you in agreement to do this, I guess, if you will?
Well, I guess, you know, as the VP of sales, I have to honestly state that with the previous owner, though the details of the reporting, et cetera, were never shared with me. I didn't know that they were requiring data from our clients up until about the middle of August when Josh and Rich began to question that. We've been an HP dealer since HP purchased Samsung, which we previously handled. And then we became a Premier First dealer in 2017. And from my understanding, we were one of 19 Premier First dealers in a 7-state region. And in fact, we were HP's third largest dealer of those 19. Now, with that said, 17, 18, 19 couldn't have been treated better.
Okay.
Then the Amplify program comes into being in 2020, and it seemed at that point that just things started to go downhill. And then after September of 21, when Rich and Josh purchased the company, things started to surface that I wasn't even aware of, i.e. the data sharing. Rich and Josh asked me, how are our clients going to feel about that? I said, in conservative Northeast Colorado, they're not going to want us sharing their information. And so that's where kind of things started to deteriorate, you might say.
Well, you know, we were talking offline, and you had mentioned that you guys actually got in front of this and sent letters to the end users, sharing them that, hey, we represent HP in the marketplace, and they want us to give you all this data. How did that go? I mean, what kind of response did you get back from those end users?
I would imagine that I've sent out 75, 80 letters, and I've heard from 25 people so far, clients. And they're all looking at what can we do? What's our options? We're not in favor of sharing data.
Okay. And maybe Rich, you can answer this, but the whole point of the data sharing at the end of the day, I don't care what HP says. This is Ray talking. The whole point of this is to control the consumable that goes in the machine.
Indeed.
Right now, today. Now,
indeed.
I also believe that HP has really, really smart people. These people understand data. They're going to do things with the data they collect from dealers that dealers cannot even imagine. There's a lot of things they can do with this data. I can imagine tons of things they could do with this data. But right now, hey, we don't want you to put a non-OEM toner in that machine. We want to get 100% of our supplies in those machines. We're going to get dealers to do that. And by gosh, if they don't do it, we're going to give them some pain. And so if you sign up with Amplify, you're having these issues that you're having. And I'll let you explain, Joshua, really quick what brought this to head. But, you know, how does this affect your pricing? Well, I mean, you bought a company and now you got to put non-OEM toner. Can you even get non-OEM toner for these devices?
No, it affects our pricing in a number of ways. When we essentially put our heels in and we didn't want to provide any more information, they removed us from the Amplify program to the Synergy program.
Okay. That
right there increased our toner cost, which offset the profitability of each of our contracts that we have into the field. So when I think about a partner, I think about a partner that is designed to help us, with a common goal. We both have a common goal and want to be successful in that goal. It seems to me that HP's response is to simply hinder our business. Hinder the amount that we pay for toner supplies. They have relinquished the amount of the portfolio that we're able to sell. It just seems like it's if you do this, we're going to do this to negatively offset, and it all has to do with data. And my LinkedIn post was in regards to some hard drive issues that we've had, and that is kind of what uncovered the data sharing and the uncomfortableness.
Josh, go back toward the microphone.
Yeah, and the uncomfortableness of sharing information. So when Bill mentions that we've had clients come in and say they don't want to share information, they're very adamant about that. They're very adamant about their information not essentially going to a third-party entity. It's not even HP. It's Market Bridge. They're a third-party entity that you weekly provide this information to. That is not sitting well with anybody. Including dealer owners as well as clients.
Well, look, HP, they'll make the claims that your data's safe. We're going to use the data to help you do all these wonderful things. I mean, they act like dealers can't run their own business without HP getting involved with it. So, Richard, let me ask you a question. You've been given data. This company you bought's been given data for over 2 years. Have they used that data to help you make millions more dollars? Have you sold anything because of the data? Have they given you any insight because of the data?
No, we've actually received zero. No information about the data, no data collection analyzed for us, nothing provided to us directly.
Well,
no leads, no nothing.
So the whole point was we're going to get all this data to help our dealers be better in business. And it goes back to what I said a little while ago, to make sure you put OEM toner in those printers and in those MFPs. It's totally ridiculous.
Indeed.
And it's really upsetting. So they switch you from HP Amplify to what's this new contract called?
Synergy program.
Synergy program, and that limits you to what you can buy in the portfolio.
Correct.
And that also makes you pay more for the toner.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then
we still have to provide information. You still have to provide information.
What if you don't? What if you tell them we're not going to provide information?
That's a good question because we haven't received that feedback yet from them.
I mean, do they tell you you're not allowed to sell HP? I mean, can you just go online and buy it because they're trying to sell you stuff online all the time? That was just a joke, but I mean, what it's, here's the reality, and it affects, when you got the guys out on the street, and Bill, it goes to you, when you go into these customers' offices and you do these contracts. First of all, we're in a very, very competitive marketplace, and we're in a marketplace that's continuously consolidating in its own right. And OEMs are going to be under more and more pressure. But when I think of Bill and his team out there in the marketplace, they're fighting for a contract. They're having to bring extra added value and do all the things that dealers do to differentiate themselves from the OEMs. And they get an agreement, and these agreements are 3-5 years. I mean, our relationships with customers are 3 and 5 year leases, and all of a sudden in the middle of this, you got an OEM that puts some more pressure on a dealer. And even if you have an agreement, if they decide to change something, how does that affect you? And now you got to go back to all these customers like you, and you all did that, send them a letter, tell them the prices are going to raise. I mean, what? Could you go in these contracts and say, hey, look, we got to raise your prices because our OEM wants all this data from us and we're not going to give it to them? Do you think that would work?
No. And that's not something that we will do. We believe in being transparent, and the letter was proactive. It was to show kind of what we are contending with. A lot of these customers have been with us for 15, 20 years, 25 years. We have open lines of communication with them. So when Bill said we need to, be kind of on the front end of this, it was very, it was a great idea. We've had clients say, just switch out our device, put in something new. We'll go with the Kyocera route. There's a lot of people that, have opened up that dialogue because they're uncomfortable all the way around. And a lot of people have respected us for, they have faith in us and they have trust in us that we will not provide this information and share their information. Sure. And a lot of people have thanked us, and that means a lot to me. And, at the end of the day, this is my information, but it's also client information. Absolutely. Too. And I'm not in a position to relinquish that.
Well, I believe that more and more dealers are going to run into that. And, you think about some of these mega dealers that are spread across the country, and, HP wants all this. It's just ridiculous. I get emails every single day from HP trying to sell me something. We all know that there's a great migration from A3 to A4. We all know that the equipment one day will probably be ink-based, which takes even less service. So there's so many things that are going to challenge dealers to begin with. And having an OEM with all of this massive amount of data, with end user information, with contract starts and end dates, and is there anything to protect you from? And I don't even know. I mean, can HP take that information that you've already provided, and you guys decide you're going to part ways? Can they use that information for the next dealer that's in the market?
Why not?
That's a red flag we have. That's a huge concern.
Well, and I'm sure they're going to tell you, oh no, that's not going to happen. We're never going to do that. But
sure.
As things change, maybe they'll say, well, we were never going to let a reseller do that, but we were going to, we still wanted people to be able to buy online from us. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's just too many damn variables here. It's kind of upsetting to begin with, to say the least.
And they're unknown variables, and the only variable is they affect the dealership. And I mean, that's why I'm grateful for the opportunity to come on and just spread awareness, spread my experience. Maybe everybody's not experiencing the same things we are, but I've said many, many times, we can't be the only one that's going through this. Well, and I have a good suspicion that we're not.
The issue is, and there was an article that I kind of beat up a little bit and was put out there by one of the publications, and they were talking, the headline was 98% of the channel doesn't have a problem with Amplify, a big to-do about nothing kind of crap. And,
sure.
And when I read that kind of stuff, it's horrifying to me, because in that article, the interviewer, if you will, asked, how are the dealers taken to Amplify, and HP executive answered, the channel. And HP's channel is huge. There's literally thousands of HP channel partners. But the dealer community is not huge. There's probably 1,500 dealers that are in the United States. And the dealers in the United States have, hundreds or thousands of customers. And the little IT companies, they don't have that many customers at all. And the problem is, why they don't really probably care about giving data around printers. They could probably care less if they're an IT provider. But it's your business is as a print provider, you have all these customers giving all this data. It's just crazy to me that they're even. So where's the next steps with HP? I mean, what are you guys going to do?
We're going to move forward without HP. We believe that being proactive and talking with our clients, we can convert them to a more cost-effective solution, number one, but with an organization and a manufacturer that is not one of overreach. So we've been very successful in the last week or two, identifying probably 25 different clients that we can immediately go into and help. And again, it's a very tight-knit community on Eastern Colorado, and when the human element is there and you communicate with your client, there's really not a lot that you can't overcome. So that's our plan. We're not going to lose any clients over this, and our plan is to weather the storm and come out as better on top.
Bill, this question's for you. So, a lot of these OEMs think that you're out there selling them. And the reality of you're out there selling an outcome for a customer to get a printed page or a copy page.
I think Ray, that's the crux of it is in the conversations we've had with HP or one I was part of back in early part of September, it was if our clients were HP's clients, and I said, no, there are clients that happen to use your brand. There's a difference there.
Sure.
And I think they failed to realize that when HP changed the warranty on A3 products to 3 months to the dealers, I asked my customers, would you buy a new car that only had a 3-month warranty? And they tell me no. And I go, okay, let me show you a Kia Sarah product.
Sure.
And they're not out here, they're loyal to Sharp Business Innovations, they're loyal to Great Copier Service, not necessarily the brand.
Indeed.
They're loyal to us because they know we're going to treat them fairly and we're going to service their unit.
Well, that's always
100%.
been the reality with dealerships. And I don't know if Kia Sarah will or any other OEM, but I think I probably would reach out to Kia Sarah and say, here's my MIF of all the HP equipment I have. I want to replace all of it. What will you do to help me? So I don't know,
Absolutely.
Oscar. I'm just throwing you a bone out there, Oscar. But maybe that's something that some of the OEMs need to do. Maybe some of these other OEMs need to step up and help the dealers challenge the most overreaching OEM on the planet, because I think it's a real reality. And folks, it's not about what you perceive this data is. A lot of dealers might say, hey, it's not a big deal. I did an episode not too long ago, maybe it was last year, earlier in the year, but it was regarding a dealer that was being presented by HP. They wanted some copies of bank statements so they could verify that the customer was actually buying the toner. They want to make sure that all the toners being delivered directly to the end user, so they're aware of that end user. They're aware if that end user changes addresses. And there's so many things that people that understand data can do with just a little bit of data. So the dealer might think, hey, I'm just giving them this, not a big deal. I got to give that maybe to some other OEMs. But no. It's much bigger than that. When you start understanding customer personas from data, you start understanding customer buying habits from data, all the things that HP is telling you this data is going to be able to help them help you with. The problem is they're not really out there helping dealers with the data make money. And they say, as part of, when I was reading about Amplify, one thing they say, it's about collaboration, capabilities, and performance. So the collaboration between you and HP pretty much went to hell over Amplify. Bill said it himself. Everything was great until Amplify came, and it sounded to me like HP was more concerned about getting data than helping you deliver better experiences to your customer.
Correct.
The capabilities, I think you guys are fully capable of delivering print equipment into the marketplace and providing services and supplies for that. So I don't know how HP is going to help you with capabilities. And performance, at the end of the day, this whole thing started because you had some A3 equipment that had some hard drives that failed. So if I have to do a grading record, I'm going to say that HP Amplify got a big F in your dealership. And I'm not saying that to be mean to HP. I'm just bringing a light that all OEMs have issues. We all get it. All of them do. We're not going to be happy with our OEMs every day. But we have to be able to address these issues. And we cannot allow the industry's analysts and media we can't allow them to let the OEMs control the narrative. And I want you guys to keep talking about this. And are you members of the BTA or the CDA or any of these groups within the industry?
Well, I'm familiar with BTA, but we are not a member.
Okay.
But most likely will change in the future. I've been educated on the BTA over the last couple of days. Art Post was talking to me about it too. Yeah. So, that's all good.
Well, I think there's things, that the groups could do. I challenge these groups to, get into the 21st century. Sometimes it's a little bit
Surely.
scary. But we have to start looking. I mean, and I would also suggest that you all start looking at some of these outside of groups, the IT venues and things like that, because as the industry transitions, we're going to have to address a lot of different issues. But I really, really do appreciate you coming in to talk about
Thank
this
you.
thing with Amplify, and I know it's heartening for you. And I feel bad that you got to take care of these customers, and that's going to cost you
Yeah.
a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
You're not
yeah.
going to get the discounts that you had. You're willing to do
Yeah.
that. You're willing to be upfront with the customers about the data, and it sounds to me like you're running a really upstanding business. And
Indeed.
upstanding business people will get through the problems. Just keep
Absolutely.
doing,
Always.
just keep doing what you're doing, and don't let these overreaching OEMs get in your way. And I, it sounds like, Bill was doing commercials for Kyocera, so that's okay. I would say this, I would reach out to Kyocera. I'd reach out to a lot of them. I think all the dealers, they should reach out to these other OEMs and say, how are you going to help me combat the most overreaching OEM on the planet? And by the way, Clover
Indeed.
Imaging, my friends at Pollock and Pollock, I'm going to throw them a plug because they're great supporters of the show. But there's alternative supplies out there. You can buy HP, remanufactured equipment that's out there. So you don't have to give up on the product if you need some things to kind of fill some
Sure.
voids for you in turn. But don't allow any OEM to run your business. That's why you're in business. It doesn't say HP up front. It says your name and your company. It's your employees. It's your culture. So is there
Indeed.
anything anybody wants to add before we end this?
Well, I think, Ray, one thing, when we took on HP in 2017, the previous owner and I went to the national conference in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in on a roundtable discussion with dealer principals, and one dealer asked the HP facilitator, "You failed 3 previous times getting into the dealer market. What are you going to do this time to be successful?" And we got the dog and pony answer, and for 3 years, they did. And then Amplify came and everything went the other direction, to where I kind of think maybe that dealer knew more at that time than what anybody else was thinking.
Well, when HP bought Samsung, ran around the whole world telling them they're going to disrupt the A3 marketplace. I've done a couple of satires on that. I like to poke fun of that. I think it was one of the stupidest things they ever said. But you're right. I mean, it's like, once shame on me, twice shame on me, 3 I'm an idiot. But, we have to decide as an industry, as a dealer network, if they want to play in our space, then they need to play by the rules of our space. And it's up to the
Indeed.
dealers and it's up to the industry to hold them accountable. Otherwise, we're losing control, and we already are going to lose control. Some of our controls are going to go away from us just because there's issues. I think about some of the smaller dealers. It's pretty obvious we're probably going to go into a recession. Think about some of the smaller dealers that are on HP Amplify. This is scary to me.
Scary.
And all
Scary.
of a sudden, maybe they're slower in paying than they were. This is a reality. Small companies, these issues happen, okay?
Yeah,
And now
absolutely.
HP takes advantage of that and says, hey, we're going to cancel this guy. We got all the data. We don't need him. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm saying it could happen.
That's
And
what
if
happened.
things could happen, we better figure out how to prevent them from happening. We better be able to talk about it. Guys, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to do a follow-up with you. We'll see how things progress over the next 6 months. And, if there's anything I can do to help you, reach out to me, because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all on Monday.